Regional alert, this is not a test. Repeat. This is not a test. Primary entry system issued an emergency action notification for the town of St. Roch and the surrounding communities. Effective immediately, exits 47, 48, 49, 50 and 51 off Interstate 12 will be blocked off. In addition, Highway 22 will be blocked off at the Tangi Parish and City of Slidell borders due to a mandatory quarantine. Check with your local governments for alternative routes. This is not a test. Effective immediately, exits 47, 48, 49, 50 and 51 off Interstate 12 will be blocked off. In addition, Highway 22 will be blocked off at the Tangi Parish and City of Slidell borders due to a mandatory quarantine. Stay tuned to your local news outlet for more information.
We placed Mr. Griffin in the infectious disease ward, where we bound him to his bed. During transport to the hospital, he ripped the skin from his forearm. I could literally see bone. It surprised me at how little he bled. Once we arrived at the hospital, patient claimed that during a routine expedition, they discovered what they thought was a new species. The unnamed specimen was harvested and brought on board to be studied. When unloading the specimen, he claimed that a white discharge from the animal touched his right forearm, prescribed a series of powerful antihistamines and steroids. Unfortunately, it did very little to help Mr. Griffin's situation. Sheriff Lane wanted to question the patient, so we used the telephones as a makeshift intercom. I took notes of the conversation. The patient received 2 milliliters of epinephrine, and after 30 minutes, the hives receded to his skin. And I think he was sent home. Quarantine anyone he's been in contact with, examine them, and possibly alert the CDC. I can expedite the tests, but please, find those people. Unfortunately, we were too late. By the Mr. Griffin's wife, Suzanne, called at 11, stating that the patient got extremely ill on his way to the follow-up appointment. They pulled over to the St. Roch gas station. On his way to the bathroom, his cysts popped. The patient got extremely agitated and demanded to be returned home. My nurse has made repeated calls, but there has been no answer. I will stop by his home after work. What I found was horrifying. I discovered the patient had murdered his entire family so that he could soak in their blood. All the cysts on his body appeared to have opened. He was covered in hundreds of holes. When I asked what he had done, he would only reply, "They won't let me kill myself." I called the police immediately. I personally have never seen an allergic reaction as intense as this one, which leads me to believe that this is something more serious. Everyone he came in contact with needs to be examined and placed under quarantine. We placed Mr. Griffin in the infectious disease ward, where we bound him to his bed. During transport to the hospital, he ripped the skin from his forearm. I could literally see bone. It surprised me how little he bled. Once we arrived at the hospital, I prescribed a series of powerful antihistamines and steroids. Unfortunately, it did very little to help Mr. Griffin's situation. Sheriff Lane wanted to question the patient, so we used the telephones as a makeshift intercom. I took notes of the conversation.
Why did you kill your family, Mr. Griffin?
I didn't want to, but they made me.
Who made you?
The things in my skin. The rash. This damn itch.
So, you hurt your family because of the things on your skin?
They just wouldn't stop itching unless I fed them.
How did you know the blood would stop the itching?
I just knew. It's like they told me without actually saying anything. And the more they told me, the more my skin itched. It was 1,000 times worse than anything I've ever felt. Every part of me felt like it was covered in ravenous ants. And it's not just my skin, it's my insides too. My brain. My heart. Even the inside of my stomach felt like it was itchy. And to be honest, I don't remember hurting them. I didn't have a moment of clarity until I sat in that damn tub. And then I was me again, but better. The itching didn't just stop. I felt better than I ever had, at least until I realized what I had done. I tried to slit my wrists, but my muscles tensed. They kept me from doing it. And I know why. My body is infested with whatever this is.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. We'll be talking again. What do you think, Dr. Wells? You buying any of this? Because I'm having a hard time believing he committed murder because of some sort of allergic reaction.
I can only say that I've never seen anything like what's happening to his skin. And I think the best course of action would be to quarantine anyone he's been in contact with, examine them, and possibly alert the CDC.
How fast can you test him and let me know if there's any truth to what he's saying?
I can expedite the tests, but please, find those people.
Agreed.
Unfortunately, we were too late. By the next morning, several new patients with symptoms similar to Mr. Griffin's were admitted. 3 others were reported to the police for murdering and butchering their victims in the same fashion as Mr. Griffin. This illness is obviously contagious. I made sure to take the proper precautions when gathering blood samples. For the newest patients, their open sores did not react in an unusual manner, but Mr. Griffin's sores sprayed white mucus in my direction with alarming aim. The closer I got, the more intense the reaction. Mr. Griffin told me he wouldn't live long if he didn't feed them. I think the patient is delusional from the lack of fluids and nutrition, but it is possible the reaction is impairing his thinking. Also, getting the proper sample size from Mr. Griffin proved to be a challenge. His body seemed to struggle to produce enough fluids for a proper sample. I decided it was in the patient's best interest to keep him sedated and revisit this in the morning. My hope is the reaction subsides, but I fear things may unfortunately be worse. As I feared, by morning, Mr. Griffin looked much different. Overnight, Mr. Griffin's entire body had swollen. He died at 10:14 a.m. When the hospital staff approached to resuscitate, he exploded, possibly further spreading the infection. To say that I've seen nothing like this is an understatement. Hell, I don't think anyone has.
Regional Alert 2, Primary Entry Point System, issued an emergency action notification alert. A dangerous pathogen has been identified in St. Roch and the surrounding area. Any and all precautions are advised. The situation is ongoing, and the public will be updated as new information is learned. Residents inside the town of St. Roch and the surrounding communities are under a mandatory quarantine. Anyone breaking the quarantine will be arrested. Anyone believed to be infected will be executed on site. Do not leave your home until military personnel can escort you to safety. Repeat. Do not leave your home until military personnel can escort you to safety. It is vital that the infected be avoided at all costs. The pathogen is believed to be highly contagious. Infected individuals can be identified by open sores found all over their body. Transmission from the pathogen is delivered through a white mucus secreted from the sores. Symptoms of the itch: 1. Cysts develop on the skin between 3 to 4 hours. 2. Cysts open within 4 to 5 hours. 3. Infected will develop a severe itchy sensation. 4. Infected will try to feed the open sores blood and fluid to stop the itchy sensation. Warning: do not go near the infected dead. They are still highly infectious and extremely dangerous. An infected corpse still secretes the infectious mucus. Some reports have indicated that an infected corpse can explode, infecting anyone in a 30-foot radius. If infected, you can try to sever the infected area and burn the appendage. Otherwise, at the moment, there is no known cure. If severing the appendage is not possible, lock yourself up until military personnel can reach you.
I could tell Mr. Griffin was sick the moment he stumbled into the gas station. I thought he might was having a heart attack when he collapsed to the floor. I had to go help him, do the right thing. I didn't even notice the bumps until I was helping him to his feet. The poor man looked like he was in pain. His skin was so hot, it was like he walked out of an oven. And that's when I heard something pop. I could feel something wet in my hand. At first, I thought it was blood, but it was too gritty to be blood. It was wet, but it was rough like sand. And it was white and yellow like snot. Before I could even look at what it was, I heard more pops. Every one of them just exploded. More of whatever it was got on me and everywhere else in the store. It was shooting out of him like bullets. It was disgusting. And after that, Mr. Griffin just snapped too. He rushed out of the place like a bat out of hell, almost like nothing had happened. I went to the bathroom and washed that nasty gunk off my hand, then thought nothing of it until I got home. That's when I found my hand was covered in hives. Later that night, it was all over my body. I started to itch. Bad. My entire body felt like it was covered in acid, but worse. I tried to take a shower, then rubbed every lotion I could find on my skin. Nothing worked. Chris, oh God, poor Chris, he was my boyfriend. He asked me if I was okay. He was just trying to be sweet, but for some reason, I grabbed a knife. The next thing I remember, I was rubbing his blood all over my body. I was feeding them. The holes. The things inside them. And I need to keep feeding them too. If I don't, I think I'm going to die. Can you help me? Please.